That Don't Sound Right is a podcast about talking the way we did before the internet, when you could not prove anyone right or wrong.
All the expertise was contained in the people involved with the conversation. I'm Peter.
I'm Cecil, and I hope you enjoy our conversations. And as you listen, if you find yourself silently saying, that don't sound right, send us a comment. You're one of us.
Yes.
So tell us what your true experience is.
Including some training.
So, well, good point.
Welcome back to another episode of That Don't Sound Right, a podcast about talking. We're your co-hosts. I'm Peter Billman.
And I'm Cecil Davis.
And we're just trying to have a conversation without Googling or using an AI or fact-checking. Those things kill the conversation. We're just enjoying each other's knowledge, or we're just enjoying each other. Hey, but I do want to welcome someone to the Camel City Studio Annex. It's listener number 1, Scott.
Hey, glad to be back. This is
Welcome to the show.
my first time in the annex. I really like it.
Right. All right. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So we brought you in for a special reason tonight, because tonight we're talking about...
That's right. We're talking about ultras, which is, I've just learned this myself. It's short for ultra marathons.
Right.
And an ultra marathon is what?
Well, so an ultra marathon, I think, Scott, you can correct me, because you've actually done ultras, is anything over a marathon.
That is my understanding.
And you said to me, why would anybody want to do an ultra? That's the that don't sound right piece of this.
That's right. So you are going to do one.
Yes.
And it's this thing called the Country Mile.
Right.
And where was it?
It was down near Marietta, South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah.
Okay.
Down 25.
Yeah. And so you were going to go do this.
Yes.
And it amounted to what distance was the potential?
So the one for the Country Mile, you have to run 100 miles, or you have to travel 100 miles.
Yeah.
On your feet, running, walking, dragging yourself in 48 hours.
So when I heard that, there was a couple things that ran through my mind. First, that don't sound right.
Right.
And then the second thing that ran through my mind is, Cecil, what was the longest distance you have run prior to running this ultra marathon?
So I did not train for this ultra marathon in any shape or form.
Do you normally train for long runs?
I would normally have trained for a long run.
So tell me about this particular training regimen.
For a regular run?
No.
For this one, no, I did nothing. I did no preparation for this.
So you had not run at all?
I've been doing my regular 3 mile run.
3 mile.
3 mile.
What's your weekly average in the 4 weeks leading up to that?
Before my treadmill broke, it was about 12 miles a week.
12 miles a week?
Yeah, 12 miles a week. And then my treadmill broke and it went to 3 miles a week.
So you were going to go to like 8 weeks worth of running in 48 hours?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, running and walking.
Running and walking.
But now the reason you're here is because you've done multiple ultras.
Yes.
So tell us what your true experience is.
Including some training.
So, well, good point. So I've done a handful of ultras. I just did a couple of 50Ks, but most of the rest, if not all of the rest, have been timed races. Like your 48 hours, except it'd be either a 12-hour or 24-hour race. And the idea is to see how many miles you can get. So typically when I'm training for those, there's quite a bit of running involved, getting ready for that. So usually on high mileage on back-to-back days, so you're running, maybe 30 miles on a Saturday and another 20 on Sunday on tired legs. So that's an example of how I have trained.
That's actually training.
Yes.
I probably should have done that.
Well, it all depends on what your goals are.
Yeah. Well, I probably should have done that. In fact, everybody I was with, we probably should have had some training.
Now, this particular, your circuit, like a 50K, is actually 31 miles.
Yeah.
Is this a loop, or is this an out and back, or is this a one-way?
I believe the only 50Ks I've done were at Salem Lake, and they go essentially 4 laps and some up the Greenway. So, but the others have all been loops of some sort in the woods. The other time races.
But now you're camping at these too, right? The one y'all do the Black Bear,
Black Mountain Monster.
Black Mountain Monster. Yeah. Y'all camp overnight.
you have a campsite available to you, and it's a 24-hour race. So if you want to take a nap, or that kind of thing, and if you have support crews there, they have a place to sleep.
Well, that was the thing that I noticed at the Ultra, that there seemed to be people that this is what they do. They had like little camping rigs or big camping rigs that had like first aid stations and cooking stations and sleeping, little sleeping areas. I mean, evidently this is a thing.
And did they have like a staff that was?
They would have like their either spouse, partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever
Support,
would be there reading a book, and then they would come around from the loop and they would fix them up and they would send them back out again.
Who did you have for supporting you there?
Not his podcast co-host.
We did not have a support crew there. We were self-supporting. There was so I was there. My brother Brian was there. My cousin David, my cousin Mitchell, my nephew Austin, and his friend Ray, who we call Railroad.
And everybody was running?
Everybody was participating. Yeah, absolutely.
When you say participating, were they, trying to finish the 100, or were they part of the support crew?
No, everybody was there. Everybody was running.
So did you get if you run less than 100 miles, how is that logged into the books as a did not finish?
Did not finish, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the thought there is that, I don't know if it's the true DNF, but the thought was if you get your 100, you get this big silver belt buckle.
Yeah, that's what 100 mileage get.
Yeah, a big silver belt buckle. And so
that's fairly universal with hundreds.
Oh, is it? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so that was what originally attracted my cousin to that, and then me and my brother to this was the big silver belt buckle.
The belt buckle.
It seemed like maybe you should have tried like championship wrestling or something, because they also have big belt buckles.
So does bull riding.
Or bull riding. I think bull riding would have been
quicker.
Yeah, if this 8 seconds, I would have been either thrown. I'd known in 8 seconds instead of 24 hours.
Yeah.
So your ultra marathons, you finished. So what's the training like, and what's the aftermath?
So when I was training for a 50K, it was not nearly that kind of mileage. But when I was trying to get the most mileage I could, I was doing the 50 miles a week kind of thing or something. But the 24-hour race, the most I ever did was 100K, which was 62.
Whoa.
I did some 50s and some 40s and some 30s, and
right.
But there was walking and there was resting. Yeah. So and there was.
So it's not 24 straight hours of trying to give this a picture for our listeners.
There are people who
and in my mind there's some things that don't.
But I think generally in ultra running, and it's usually on trails, is what I've. Yeah. There's exceptions, but there is a lot of walking.
Okay.
Yes.
Some people have a strategy of walking up hills and then running level ground or downhill.
I see.
That's a strategy they take.
So now my cousin had completed this one before.
The 100-miler.
The 100-miler.
Okay.
So he had a strategy of, just so you want a little draw picture like you were saying. So this was a 3-mile loop on a strawberry farm.
A 3-mile loop.
A 3-mile loop. And
strawberry farm in South
Generally
Carolina.
flat, right?
Generally flat. There was one pretty rocky area, but generally flat.
And you do this at night too, because you're doing
it all night. Yeah, you do it all night, which brought up an interesting thing. I think you would have done the same thing. So all of us did not use lights at night because we were all used to walking with our dad, and they wouldn't use flashlights. They would keep the flashlights cut off, and so we just naturally walked the way we always walked. And people would comment on, like, once they came up and said, "Are you guys the zombie walkers?" We're like, "What are you talking about?" They're like, "Why aren't you using a flashlight?" Like, well,
part of it is to be seen, not just to see.
Well, that may be it. But it was like the moon was out, and it was this big open fields. You could see forever.
But you were walking, you weren't running.
You were walking. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you could see forever. I mean, and so we didn't need a flashlight. But
you're right. I would be walking without a flashlight.
I bet you've hiked without a light.
I have, but I think I would run with a light.
Well,
I've actually done that. I've been out at actually really early morning at Salem Lake, and that's a cool place to turn your light off.
Yeah.
And just let the world wake up around
See what
you.
happens.
Yeah.
You will run up onto something.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Well, except you won't, because all wildlife deserts.
That's right. I'm not worried about any kind of chupacabra coyotes walking up on me.
So a 3-mile loop. And as you finish the loop, you would come through what was essentially the strawberry stand barn during the summer.
Okay.
And when you came through there, you could refuel. And then, well, first of all, your chip would count. Your computer chip would register the lap.
So this is pretty high-tech and legit.
That's a high-tech strawberry field.
Yeah.
It's not someone with like a scratch pad.
No. Your name would come up on the screen. It would say your name, and then it would say what lap you were on.
Okay.
And then it'd also give you your time for that lap.
Okay.
And then you could refuel with all the stuff they had there. But at some point, you're going to pass your campsite because you were allowed to camp along the route.
Right.
And so you could also stop off at your campsite.
So there's no rules against sleeping, eating.
No. If you could do 100 miles in 1 hour, you could sleep 47.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so you were set up along the route, and so my brother, my cousin had a thing where he would do 3 laps and then rest for an hour. 3 laps and rest for an hour.
Just
9 miles,
an hour?
rest an hour.
Mm-hmm.
That long?
Yep. So 9 miles. Each lap is
that's
3.
9 miles. Okay.
So 9 miles and then rest for an hour. 9 miles, rest for. But you're doing this for. They did it for like 42 hours.
Wait, say it again. He would do 3 laps.
3 laps.
3
which
laps.
Is 9 miles.
Okay, which is 9 miles.
Yeah.
And then sleep for an hour, which worked because they finished it. They did the 100
really?
miles, and Brian finished 100 miles. Yep.
No kidding.
Yeah, it worked.
That's quite the strategy.
Yeah. So now, what do you normally do on your ultras? Do you sleep?
And the ones I've done, if they're 12 hours, no, you just stay out there. But the 24-hour ones been varied. Mm-hmm. The one where I went the furthest, I slept for 5 hours. Mm-hmm. And the next year I had intended to not do that, just to walk, just to keep moving. Mm-hmm. And it was, I say the next year, the next time I ran it, and there was torrential rains, and it was called at 2:30 or 3 in the morning. So they made us all leave.
Because of flooding.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you should say that because in this particular race, it started out sunny, and then the torrential rains came and turned everything to mud.
That's right. You were down there during that rain. I remember that.
Right. And then as the skies cleared and the rain went away, the high winds set in with the high wind warnings across these big open fields. So we went from torrential rain, lightning to high winds, and then it got hot. So it was we experienced all kinds of weather.
Good gracious.
So which climate do you run the best in? High winds, rain, hot sun.
I kept moving. I actually was out on the course during the worst of the rain. I managed to time my sleep so that I slept through the non-rain periods and then got back up and ran and walked during the heaviest rain.
What was your strategy?
So my strategy,
stay wet.
One caveat is I had to leave after 24 hours because I had to get back to Raleigh because my dad was having surgery.
Okay.
So I hadn't planned on being there for the whole 48 hours anyways, not fully. And so my plan was to run and this is important, I was going to run the first lap and then catch back up with my group and then walk their pace until about 1 in the morning. And then I was going to sleep until 6 and get back up and go as long as I could the next day.
Okay. Starting at what time of day?
Start at 6 p.m.
Okay. Oh, starts at
start at 6. And so I did that. Ran the first lap. I was up in the lead group. Ran the first lap. Caught back up with my group and then stayed with them until 1 in the morning. Went to sleep. But then I stayed asleep longer than I meant to. I didn't get up till about 8.
So the whole time you're with them, you're a lap ahead of them?
For as long as I was with them until the next day, I was 1 lap ahead of them.
Okay.
Yeah. But then that changed because I left and they
kept going.
They kept going.
Right.
And, so.
Well, the interesting thing about this, Cecil, is this race started on what day?
So this is maybe we should do words of wisdom first. Do you have any words of wisdom?
Don't run an ultra.
No, I don't. That's not. So there's no wisdom in that.
I've ran one marathon, and I was telling you about this before we recorded. It was my last. But I had a similar training regimen as he did. Is that the most I had run really was about 13 miles where I went out there.
Oh yeah. There's a saying, I can't remember exactly how it goes, but if you could run, name the distance, but let's call it 100 miles, your problems that you had at the beginning of the 100 miles are probably not the problems you have at the end.
No, that is some words.
Well, it really does become a mental.
Oh, yeah.
thing. And so my brother and cousins can tell you it really became a mental thing after, when you start getting into that 35th hour of it.
I have theories about why people run ultras if you want to hear those.
Yeah. No, we'd love to.
Yeah.
Well, so in our day and age, there's people who have physical labor jobs, but almost all of them are aided by, equipment, machines, technology. But it was not many years ago that we worked really hard as a people all day, every day, year after year. And I think even in our grandfathers' periods of time, hard work was probably something akin to what we do in an ultra marathon. It's just a day after day of physical grind.
Right.
And I think we want that. I think we are tuned to that at some level. Some of us.
I will agree with that.
Some of you.
Well, because you say that, but you backpack in the coldest.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
There's no
backpack.
difference.
You go backpacking when it is the worst weather possible on purpose, and have invited me,
It's exactly the same thing.
and I have
see it.
politely declined.
I can see. Now, I would put a twist on that.
Okay.
Is that our life? Not a twist. I'd probably put another reason. Our lives are pretty cush,
Oh, yeah.
and so there is something about wanting to challenge ourselves.
Sure.
There's something about wanting to suffer, maybe just a little.
And test yourself.
And
Yeah.
test ourselves, and
Yeah.
we put ourselves sometimes in that position to do it.
Absolutely.
And
And there's something really freeing about that. There's something energizing about that. It's something good for my brain.
Oh, it's, I believe, more of a mental exercise than physical. Absolutely.
But after I ran that marathon, I twisted several ankles afterwards, and I talked to my orthopedist, and he said, "Peter, your legs just aren't really designed for running." I've got bowed legs.
Huh.
My ankles are all kind of my feet are pointing in all kinds of different directions. He said, You're not really designed for this kind
But you could walk the
I can
ultra.
walk it. That's
you could
true.
walk the ultra.
Yeah.
Would I have enough time?
How many?
Yeah,
48 hours is
that-
actually a lot of time for running.
Yeah.
If you keep
Yeah.
a good clip up.
Yep. Now you'd have to you wouldn't be able to sleep.
Right.
So they did it. I mean, Brian and David.
They didn't run it. They ran. They walked most of
walked
it?
it. They had that walking strategy of three.
Oh, I didn't realize they were
3-1.
walking.
I thought they
Yeah.
ran it.
No. 3-1. 3-1.
How long did it take them to do a lap?
Hour? About an hour, a little under an hour. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 4 hours per, you're counting the walking
Yeah.
time and the sleeping time
Yeah.
per 9 miles.
Yeah.
And you got,
48
12 of
hours.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, you're right. So on the way down, so if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that my brother and I have a history of doing practical jokes on each other, but the parameters are they have to happen on April 1st. That's the rule.
And
that's the only rule.
There's another rule. I thought you
What's
had to be
that?
I thought it had to be in person.
No, it doesn't have to be in person. That's
Okay.
it doesn't have to be in person. But, so it has to take place on April. The joke has to take place on April 1st.
And I think we talked this in the prior episode, practical jokes that you and your brother classically played each other. It got out of hand at times, and so you kind of narrowed it down to April 1st.
Right, because we didn't want to be on guard every single second of every single day.
Exhausting.
Yeah, right. So we said, okay, if we're going to do it, it's going to happen on April 1st.
And so I was quite aware of all this.
Yeah.
That you're going to do something called a country mile
Yes.
with your brother
Yes.
on April 1st.
What?
And so at the very first part of it, I said, is this really legit?
You actually called me.
I called or texted you.
Yeah.
I said, hey, how's it going? Is it legit? This sounds like an April 1st prank. And you said,
I said, no, it's legit.
It is legit. It's legit. But my spidey senses were up for some reason.
Mine were not. What were you going to say?
How could they not be up?
Well,
Knowing your brother,
So it's funny. So I have relived this moment in my mind many, many times now. So you're right. You said I knew it was going to be April. I was going to be with my brother on April 1st. That did not, for some reason, set off any alarm bells with me because I was thinking we'll be face to face out in the middle of a strawberry field what can possibly happen?
That doesn't sound right, man.
Then you call me and say, do you think this is legit? Which should have set off some triggers because your spidey senses were going off. And I was like, no, everything's legit. And just a caveat so you'll know, the race was legit.
Yeah,
the country
that's right.
mile is a legitimate 48-hour race. The complete race,
It's legit.
100% legit.
All right.
My
100%.
spidey senses should have gone off when you called me, but they didn't because I'm driving. I'm kind of focused on getting down there, and I have not thought anything about trying to pull a joke on Brian, nor was I thinking that he would try to get me during the race.
And also, in fairness, you knew you were only going to be there for 24 hours.
It's only going to be there for 24
You got
hours.
to go back. You're probably thinking about your dad.
Well, I was thinking about it. I had my mind was on other things, definitely. And so I get down. I call my brother on the way down to the race, and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna get there after you. Pick up my race packet for me." And he's like, "No problem."
What's a race packet?
So a race packet is just usually your number,
Your bib
your chip,
with the number on it. Chip.
some stickers, some coupons.
Okay, so it's
T-shirts,
It's everything
socks.
you need and some swag. For
Yeah,
the
right.
race.
That's
okay.
right. Yeah.
For those like me who haven't run ultras.
Yeah. So I get down there, find them on the course. So it's because, again, you can camp on the course.
Okay.
So we had a camping spot, and all of us are set up tents. And so he hands me my race packet, and in it is a sheet of paper, and it says the rookie lap leader, and it has all the age groups listed. And so that's really the first thing I pull out.
Was this printed?
It was printed with the logo, with the race logo.
Okay.
So
I
this
pull it
looks
out.
like you're going to get something if you were the lap
If you
leader.
lead the first lap,
The first lap.
the first
Okay.
lap, if you lead it for your age group, or at
Okay.
least that's how I read it.
Yeah.
Because there's no instructions.
Sure.
It just says rookie, lap leader, and the age groups. So I asked around them. I was like, "Did y'all get this in your packet?" And they're like, "Yeah." And like one of them had thrown it in the truck. One of them hadn't. Nobody's giving me any attention about this. I was like, but I'm thinking I'm only going to be there for 24 hours.
There we go.
Maybe I can leave with a little swag.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm not going to be there. So
Because you're not going to be there. You're not going to be able to finish the race.
I'm not going to be able to finish
Let's get
it.
something out of it.
right, it's what's in the back of my head.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's great.
Excellent.
And this is right up my alley. I mean, this is so. As far as a practical joke goes, this has taken me out of my game because I am now thinking about swag.
Oh.
some
you're thinking.
Yeah.
Would you
some
also
hardware is coming my way.
Would you also agree that it's glory?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
This is about glory too,
Yes.
right?
I don't know your brother. I'm just questioning whether we have the smartest Davis at the podcast.
Yeah, after you finish hearing the rest of the story, you'll be questioning that even more. Because still, at this point, really, had I been thinking, I should have questioned every single thing that happened, and I didn't.
Well, I mean, you probably, I don't know if you.
I was excited.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
And you had a race packet.
All the sights and
It's a
sounds.
cool race packet.
So I
What
get
time
up,
did you get there?
I got there at 4 o'clock,
And what time does the race start?
6 o'clock.
Yeah.
There we go.
So we meander. Our campsite is about a couple tenths of a mile from the start.
All right.
And so we meander up, and as I'm standing up there, I asked one of the race leaders, I said, "Hey, what is the deal with the lap leader?" And he, of course, has 1,000 things going on. He's like, "Yeah, somebody handed me that. I don't really know." And he wanders off. Another chance for me to clue in,
Right.
but I didn't. So I asked several more race people about the lap leader, and they all are kind of like, nobody knows anything
Why
about
are you asking people?
Because I want to know what the rules are
So you
I
know
can
how.
win it.
I
So
got
I
you.
can
You
win
have a
it.
strategy to win.
Yeah.
All right.
But I already knew I was going to run. See, the reason it really played in because I was going to run the first
And
lap.
you shared this potentially with your brother?
Well, I already told my
family?
brother my strategy is I was going to run the first lap. So nobody knows anything about it. The race starts March 31st, 6 p.m. I run the first lap, and I'm up. For my age group,
You're fast. I've run with you. I can't keep up.
No, yeah.
I hate running with you.
But I'm up front because most everybody else has got some kind of walking strategy. There's not many people running that first lap.
Except for the outlaws.
Except for the outlaws don't start till the next day.
Oh, okay. Well, they got to pace themselves anyway.
Yeah, they gotta
They're not
pace
going to go out
themselves,
and
right.
all out sprint like Cecil here.
So I come into this thing, and I
What was your first lap time?
I don't even remember. Like I don't even remember looking yet.
Yeah.
Like I hadn't gotten acclimatized to everything yet. And So I asked something about the race lap leader. Still nobody knows. I catch up with my group, and we are now into the, we're getting into it.
Okay.
So we keep on doing this, and now it's, midnight, and we're getting ready to start another lap.
So do you stop when they stop?
I'm stopping, and now I'm going to start stopping when they stop until 1 in the morning.
Okay.
And then I'm going to take a longer break.
Okay.
And because the other thing is I kind of knew where my limits were, and I did not want to just tank myself and then try to drop back.
Yeah.
And so it is now around midnight, and we're starting the lap. And so 3 miles, we're 3 miles dead of night, dark. One of our group has, I don't realize this, but they have assigned Ray, who has now got blisters on his feet, because, we've been going for 6 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know this, but Brian has him run ahead to get back to the shelter first with the Race Lap Leader Award, gives it to the race people. So now as I'm coming in, it's just it's after midnight.
So here we are.
April 1st.
April 1st. And I'm not even thinking we have crossed the time barrier in April 1st. So I come in, as I come into the barn, the race proctor who's sitting there goes, "Are you runner 96?" I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "You're the race lap leader."
The rookie.
The rookie. And that's the other thing. I am a rookie
That's
for
right.
this race. He said, "You're the rookie lap leader." Picks up a lanyard, 2 lanyards. It's got this rookie lap leader card with the logo, hands it to me. I put it on my neck. People are just starting to clap that are in the building.
All right.
And cheer.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, my brother and my cousin get me together for a picture, and they're both pointing at it. They're both, all smiles. I'm thinking because they're so happy that I'm the rookie.
Oh, yeah, because you're the rookie lap leader.
I'm the rookie lap leader.
And they're associated with you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'll point out that after I asked you was it legitimate, you texted back a little bit later. It wasn't immediate, saying yes, it is legitimate. And in fact, I have won the rookie lap leader award. Here it is in all its glory.
So I go back to my campsite, and at this point, they could have. I would have worn a sash and a crown. You could have gotten me. At this point, I am the rookie lap leader. They could have gone, but the simplicity of it is part of the beauty of it.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
So I get back to the campsite. I take off. Back off of that. So it's in my car now. But I've sent people pictures of it throughout the night.
Oh, yeah.
And
What time did I
Was
get
it
my
laminated?
picture?
it was in like a
Clear plastic.
Clear plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so my brother comes up, and he's pretty tired at this point. And he said, "Hey," he said, I was pretty tired last night at midnight. He said, "I forgot to tell you how proud I am of you for getting there." I was like, "Man, I really appreciate that." I said, "Thank you," because it was great. So now. Sunday, all right, so that's Saturday. I leave, right. I go home, go to Raleigh. It's Monday.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Nothing.
Wednesday.
Right.
You and I get together to record the podcast.
That's right. So we had to do the reveal.
Yes.
We had to do the reveal of what's going on. So actually, this all starts on Tuesday. Actually, this all starts on Monday. Your brother needs my phone number for some reason.
Yes.
And so he triangulates through your daughter and my daughter.
Yes.
And gets my number. He texts me, and the text goes like this: "Peter, this is Brian Davis. Can I talk to you for a minute? Please don't tell Cecil I've contacted you." Now, I'm driving back from South Carolina myself.
So Peter's getting ready to tell about the reveal. So if you haven't caught on yet to what's going on, the lap leader was an April Fool's joke. The lap leader did not exist. But I still am believing that I'm the lap leader and texting people this, and it is now April 3rd, 4th. So we have, this is probably going to be one of our longest episodes ever. So we'll get into the reveal on the next episode of it. So it don't sound right at this length of time, but you have come to the end of another That Don't Sound Right.
But before we close, we want to thank everyone for listening. If this is your first time and enjoying this conversation, would you leave us a review or hitting the subscribe button? Would you also thinking about shooting us an email on tdsrpodcast@gmail.com? Maybe tell us about a practical joke you might have been a part of or the victim of.
So That Don't Sound Right is a production of TDSR Podcasts in conjunction with Camel City Studios. I'm your co-host and sound engineer, Cecil. Peter is your other host and web designer. Emily is our graphic designer. Giorgio tastes our merchandise. Brent is our brand ambassador. And as always, listener number one is
Scott.
So until next week, keep talking.
And stay curious.